Hey guys, welcome to today's Vehicle Visionary. Today I'm back at Holmes Honda here in Shreveport, Louisiana, and we're going to take a look at the 2022 version of the Honda Odyssey minivan. This is the EXL trim level, and I know a lot of you have been saying, Tom, can you review lower trim levels? And while this is obviously not the lowest trim level of the Odyssey, we're going to work on that, and we'll get to all of those as they are available here in the Holmes Honda inventory. And before we get any further into today's video, I got to say a special thank you to the sponsor of our video today, FindTheBestCarPrice.com. If you have ever wanted to go about shopping for a car, buying a car in the same manner that a professional auto broker would do, this is how you can learn to do it, and do it for free on the FindTheBestCarPrice.com website. And what they're going to do is teach you all the different steps on how to literally get car dealerships to start competing with each other for your business. They have a program that will teach you how to use email to do this, to contact the right people, to know exactly what to say. Everything is there that you need to know. Like I said, it's free. It doesn't cost you a bit. Very easy website to navigate. And when you finish watching the entirety of today's video, make sure to check out the description of the video. You will find the website link for FindTheBestCarPrice.com as the very first thing down in the description. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Honda Odyssey. Just a couple of interesting little bits of information. Did you know that there are 15 cup holders in the interior of the Odyssey? And depending on the trim level that you get, there are either 5 or 6 different ways to open and or close that rear lift gate. Okay, let's talk a little bit about styling. Of course, the Odyssey competes with multiple minivans from other manufacturers such as the Toyota Sienna and the Chrysler Pacifica. And what you'll find here with the front end, of course, is a front end that was given a light refresh during 2021 as far as the model year goes, that debuted in late 2020. You'll find LED headlights, LED daytime running lights, automatic high beams, LED fog lights. You can see where the location is for the blinkers here on the front end. Of course, you're going to have the same built into the mirror, those turn signal indicators in those heated power side view mirrors, and of course, LED tail lights. Now, I know a lot of you have expressed your dissatisfaction with some of the numbers that come from some of the hybrid powertrains for the competitors of the Odyssey. Now, I'm going to have a problem here as far as horsepower goes. It's the 280 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, 3.5 liter V6, a very tried and true and reliable engine. You're going to put a lot of miles on this, and it's going to last. It's a Honda. That's what you would expect. Made it to a 10-speed automatic transmission, 19 miles per gallon estimated city, 28 out on the highway, a combined total of 22. At least that's what's estimated, like I say. Now, one thing I didn't mention earlier, safety features, and there are plenty. Something that Honda is known for, not being shy on the safety features. What I'm giving you on the screen is a partial list. If you want to see the full list, there's another link down in the description that if you want to check it out, wait until the end of the video, of course, to the Holmes Honda website for this very Odyssey that we're taking a look at today. Now, if you happen to click on that and it goes to an inventory page, that means somebody beat you to the punch and bought this Odyssey before you could. And just a side note before I forget, yeah, there's really no pun intended because it does have to do with the side exterior of the Odyssey. Anyway, 18-inch alloy wheels. Like I said, you have the heated power side view mirrors. Now, they're not power folding side view mirrors. You can manually fold those in if you need to. Of course, you've got the button right there to lock and or unlock the interior if you want to. And just to give you a quick look, there is the remote for the vehicle. As you can see, quite a few different features and functionality there. I'm going to open that back up, and I'll use one of the buttons here to open the sliding side door here. Of course, you've got one on the driver and the passenger side of the Odyssey, and quite a few features here that make this van really what I would call a multitasker. It's not just a grocery getter and something to haul the family around with. You could actually set this Odyssey up to be a very versatile work van in a multitude of ways. And I'll show you what I mean about that in just a second. Now, one thing about it, let me move something out of the way here. You do have, of course, 3 rows here. How do you access that? Well, you've got several different features here that you can use to adjust the seats. This latch on the very back, really pretty easy to figure out just because of the sticker on the side. You just pull up on that and it automatically just about slides the seat forward without you really having to do a whole lot to push it forward. And of course, that means easy access to the rear row of seats. Like I said, a lot of cup holders throughout this van. There's several back here in the rear, 4, couple of air conditioning vents back there, so those rear seat passengers are going to be nice and comfortable. But let me put this back in place because I want to talk a little bit more about what you have here. Now, you can use this middle latch to lower the seat, just like that, or to lower the seat back down. And when you do that, here's what happens. Let me put that back down. This front latch, you can take that and you can actually move the seat forward. Now, I'm not going to do it right now because I already worked out today. I will never do this again after such an aggressive bicep workout because it wasn't easy. But here's what I mean by this being a great multitasker. Now, you can remove that middle row seat. And if you think that's heavy, I'm going to show you how to make it a lot lighter here shortly. And you can slide the outer seats here on the outside of the driver and passenger side in a multitude of directions. In fact, you can set things up a lot of different ways as far as configuration goes. We'll show more of that shortly, but here's what I really like. All 3 of these middle row seats are easily removable in concept. Now, I will say, the seats on the outside, if you think that middle row seat is heavy, or that middle seat in this row is heavy, let's say that correctly. Don't want to get corrected down in the comments by the correction Nazis of YouTube. Might make a t-shirt about that sometime. Anyway, all kidding aside, now that I'm done, we'll do more of that before the video's over. But if you want to make that middle row, that middle seat, I want to get that correct. We're not going to shoot this scene twice. That middle seat in the middle row, a lot lighter. Try picking up these outer seats that are removable individually. That's lighter than having to remove all 3 at the same time, but I'll tell you what, these seats are pretty heavy, so you might want to enlist some help to get that out. Or maybe not a big deal. Somebody who maybe is even stronger than I am, and there's plenty of people out there who are, you might say that doesn't weigh anything. But I guarantee you, after you muscle these outer seats out, that middle seat is light as a feather. Well, maybe not that light, but it's lighter. Like I said, there's multiple ways to open this rear lift gate, including the button on the door that I use there. There's also interior buttons. There's a button on the remote. There's a lot of different ways to do that. Like I said, you have 5 or 6 different options depending on the trim level. Now, one of the things that I like to talk about here, tell me down in the comments if you've ever heard any other car reviewer on YouTube talk about this. I like to talk about the multitaskers that are in these vehicles. And back here is one of those multitaskers. There's a bit of what I call a well back here. It's just a little storage area is what it basically is for these stowing magic rear seats. We'll get to that in just a second as far as what that is. But as long as the seats are in their upright position as they are right now, you can store whatever you want down here, whatever will fit. If you have something that's too tall to fit on the floor up here, there's enough of a recess here to where you might be able to put it in there and have it still fit in the interior. So again, a multitasker, a lot of different things you could do there. Now, the actual purpose, of course, is to stow these seats. And when they're not in use, all you have to do is pull on this strap. You can pull the seat back, and there you go. It's out of the way. Both sides work like that. And here's the great thing about that. If you don't have any passengers, or maybe you want to, again, use this van as a multitasker, the whole thing is a multitasker. It's usually just multitaskers within the interior. But in the case of the Odyssey, well, it's kind of the whole thing, because you could remove those middle row seats, or you can reconfigure them however you want to. You could leave one or none there, depending on what your situation is. If you have one passenger that needs to ride in somewhere other than the front seat, if you got 3 people total in the minivan here, well, obviously you can take care of that in a multitude of ways. But you could remove all 3 of those seats stowing magic rear seats, say that correctly, and all of a sudden you have a great work van, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're hauling a bunch of boxes, helping somebody move, I don't know. It could be a lot of different things. There's a lot of space here as far as cargo goes, and you do have some options for some light towing. This is a front wheel drive version, and so obviously it's not going to tow as much as it might if it were all wheel drive, but it is what it is. But still, a few options there depending on what your situation and or desires are. This Honda Odyssey is so hot, even the fire department is on their way. So let me close the door here. Maybe we can drown out a little bit of that noise if you're able to hear it off of my lapel mic. Let's talk a little bit about the interior now that we're sitting here inside. As far as the middle row goes, obviously you're going to have a little more leg room than you would in the rear, but the good news is that you can, as you can see, slide these seats back and forth, not only sideways, but front and back as well. So obviously if the rear seat passengers need a little bit more leg room, there's actually quite a bit of space to move these seats forward to help out with that. And so as you can see, I showed you kind of what I have back there with these seats being pretty far back. I don't know if they go, I think I have them back as far as they go, so not too terribly bad. Of course, I probably don't need to say anything else about the drink holders. You can see there are several here, not only in the rear area, but here in the middle row. You got some connectivity on the rear of the console and a lot of storage. I like the fact that there is quite a bit of storage here in a multitude of areas on the doors and other places. And you do have tri-zone climate control. Dual zone in the front, you've got single zone here for all of the rear area, all controlled by a panel right up there above the right side sliding side door. And so basically what happens is, well, the rear seat passengers can set things as they want to. Of course, that can get rather interesting depending on if someone likes it cold, someone likes it hot, someone likes it in between. Who knows? They might get into a big brawl back here. And to hide some of that, well, you could bring the shade up right there. How's that for a segue into the shade for the window right here? Don't know that that would do much to help in that situation, but you could lower these windows, of course. You want to just use the air driving down the road instead of the air conditioning. Those do lower on both sides, and it is very comfortable. The seating itself seems to be very comfortable. Now, I've obviously never had the experience of riding in the middle or rear seats, only in the front driving. Boy, wouldn't that be a trick to do that. Don't think I'm going to try that. Unless I had a huge open area, that would be interesting to try that. I don't think I have that kind of space anywhere available. And of course, you do have a sunroof right here, conventional size. Obviously, 2022 is not going to bring a full redesign for the Odyssey. So no panoramic sunroof yet, but that doesn't mean we won't possibly see that. Maybe in 2023, we'll have to wait and find out. And the most important area, well, at least if you're the driver, the driver's seat and all of the great features and functionality that are found here. Push button start will start the engine up, of course. And you've got a lot of great features here, even though, like I said, this is not the elite trim level. It's not the highest trim level, but still a lot of great things here, including seat memory for the driver, 2 different settings for that. So if you have 2 different drivers, obviously with 2 different remotes, you're going to be able to take full advantage of that. All the controls for mirror adjustments and child locks being turned on and off, and power windows, power door locks, all that kind of stuff. You got your power parking brake right there if you want to use that. And a pretty nice looking instrument cluster. It's obviously in this generation of the Odyssey, it's not anything new, no changes there, but easy to use, a lot of nice functionality there. Your steering wheel mounted controls where you can turn off or on some of those safety features that we talked about earlier, at least that I showed on the screen earlier to be more accurate. You do have an adjustable steering wheel. Now it's manually adjustable, but it is fully adjustable, as you can see, adjustable tilt and telescopic. So depending on where the driver wants things to be, that's easy. Power seats here in the front as well. They're also heated. I would love to see that also be cooled for those of us who live in Northwest Louisiana, even though here on April 1st of 2021, yes, it is a little bit cool outside this morning, but it will warm up quickly. But I do like the fact here, something I've learned from what a lot of you have said and what Honda did with the Ridgeline, You like that knob right there for turning the radio on and off and adjusting the volume. So you've got that here, Honda's infotainment screen. I say it a lot because it's true. One of the easiest to use you will find, and it does have a lot of customization with it. You can change the position of the icons and different things like, and you can also go into settings and make quite a few changes, a lot of customization. Just really easy to use, and like I said, right under that dual zone climate control, you can sync those together if you wish to, so that when the driver changes the temperature, well, it changes on the passenger side as well. Very easy to use, super simple. Push button start, like I said, right here, and you also have a push button shifter in the middle right here. Tell me what you think about that. Are you in favor of that? Would you rather have a column shifter right here? What do you think? A lot of people have varying opinions on that. Of course, if you want to go into one of the multiple modes right here that you have, snow, econ, you've got drive and sport. If you want to go into sport mode and feel a little sporty, well, you can use those shifter paddles when you're out driving spiritedly in your Honda Odyssey. How many people drive spiritedly in an Odyssey? Well, you never know. If you're maybe using this van as a multitasker, as a work van, and you're late to an appointment, well, you might have to drive spiritedly. It's a polite way of saying you're speeding if you don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, more connectivity right here and a nice large area for storage. You ladies could put your purse there or whatever the case may be, or if you have a man purse, I guess you could put that there too. And one of my favorite features here, there's a lot of things I could say about this. You've got the sunglass holder right here, or glasses holder, whatever you want to put in there, but you also have this mirror. That is called the conversation mirror. Does that mean for those people who, I know it drives me crazy if you're ever sitting in the back seat of a car and someone's driving along and they turn around and start having a conversation with you. Some of you know what I'm talking about. It drives me crazy. Here's a whole new way of technology to start doing that. So instead of turning all the way around, you can use the conversation mirror to drive down the road while you're talking to your rear seat passengers, maybe that mother chewing them out or something like that. I'm not advocating that you should do that while you're moving, but you know what? You never know what you might see driving down the road. Now let's just see if I can get that to close here. Wow, that would make for quite an outtake. There we go. Of course, you've got the armrests here on the front seats for the driver and passenger, and for some reason, you don't have one of those lids on this console that you lift up and down. I always think of a garage door because you slide it back and forth, so I just think of a sliding garage door, one of those roll-up doors. A nice amount of space in here, a little more connectivity if you wish to take advantage of that. And as far as overall space goes inside that console, I'd say a good 5 to 8, maybe 10 Vehicle Visionary t-shirts properly folded would fit right down inside there. Now, I said there's a decent amount of horsepower under the hood of this Odyssey, 280 to be exact. Let's get out on the road and see how the Odyssey handles. Okay guys, let's hop out on the road for our test drive. One thing I want to say right off the top, for some of you, I know this might not mean much, but for some of you it will. If you've ever driven a vehicle that has heavy steering, it means that you can just feel the weight of the vehicle through the steering wheel. Surprisingly, that's not the case here with the Odyssey. Even though obviously it's a minivan, but that doesn't mean that it's small and light as far as its weight goes. But I like the fact that the steering wheel feels light. It feels very easy to drive, which it really is. In fact, maybe we'll get into a large parking lot before the end of the video and do a turning radius demonstration just to show you what that's like. But I just like the fact that the steering wheel doesn't have that heavy kind of clunky feel to it. Just something that somebody might get a little bit of information out of. Now, obviously, if I step on the gas pedal, the Odyssey is going to react differently than it would if I had a full load of passengers, or maybe I was hauling a lot of boxes around helping that friend move that I talked about earlier in the video, or maybe using it as a work van. I don't know what you might be hauling around in that case, quite a few different items. But I have to say, just cruising down the road, no problem, no big deal. Not a lot of road noise. You know, hopefully what you're hearing on my microphone gives an accurate representation. It's hard to say. I changed the windsock on that recently to try and cut down on some of the background noise, so hopefully we're improving on that. But that might actually have a bit of an effect on what you can hear or not hear as far as the road noise goes. But overall, not bad. The brake pedal, while it feels a little bit light, if you ever have to get on the brakes really hard, you're going to be grateful that it feels that way, because it's not going to brake check anybody, but the brakes are more than effective, obviously. Just because a brake pedal feels light doesn't mean the brakes don't work as well. It just kind of gives that impression. But I can tell you from driving around that these brakes are very effective. I'm not going to test that out too aggressively, but just something to consider. Everything's easy to get to here, easy to navigate, easy to learn. And depending on what a person's situation is, if you're stepping out of an older vehicle, something that doesn't have an infotainment screen and a backup camera and all that stuff, well, don't let that scare you off. It's not hard to use. But let's talk a little bit about technology beyond that, because obviously there is quite a bit. And one thing I forgot to mention earlier, as we give a little bit of an acceleration test, the speed limit in this area is 65 miles an hour, and a lot of people don't drive it for some reason on this road, I guess because the road's so rough. But anyway, the backup camera, something you're going to have on every single vehicle now. In the United States, at least, that was actually mandated by the year 2020, so a lot of manufacturers got ahead. The backup camera, while you don't have a lot of different views or anything like that, you do have your trajectory lines, and it's a nice clear image. Something that I have to definitely give kudos to Honda on with what they have here. And while this isn't the highest trim level, of course, as I mentioned earlier, one thing I will do that I didn't do earlier on the screen, I typically do this, is list all of the trim levels and their base prices of the Odyssey, just so you might know where they start if you're kind of curious to know, depending on what your plans are as far as, do you want to build one on the Honda website, or are you going to just go to the dealership and buy something, whatever the case is. That way you kind of have an idea of what you're starting with. But overall, I must say, I really have to give high marks to the Odyssey. Personally, I will never own a minivan. I'll never have a need for anything like this. But out of the other vans that I've driven in the last few years of reviewing vehicles here on Vehicle Visionary, I must say the Odyssey definitely ranks as one of the higher favorites of mine. Definitely one of the top 3, I would say, because of all of the features and functionality, the technology. But the main thing I like is how versatile the interior is. It's just so nice that it's as easy as it is, like I said, in theory, to change things up. Yes, those middle seats, especially those outer seats, are a little heavy, but you can get them in and out, and it's not that hard to do. It really isn't that hard. So you just tilt it up basically and then kind of move it off of its position that kind of keeps it in place. I'll give you a picture on the screen of what that looks like. But ultimately, it's really pretty easy to do. If you need some help, you can get that, depending on what the situation is. So overall, definitely high marks for the Odyssey. Maybe we'll do a comparison video sometime with an Odyssey to maybe another van from another dealership. Tell me what you want to see, guys. If you want to see that, tell me exactly what you would like to see, and I'll see if I can make that happen for you. And that is a tour of the 2022 version of the Honda Odyssey EXL. Got to say a special thanks again to FindTheBestCarPrice.com for sponsoring today's video. Make sure to check out that link down in the description of the video. After you finish watching, it's almost time. And of course, a special thanks to my friends here at Holmes Honda for loaning me this Odyssey for the day. And most importantly of all of you for being kind enough to watch and give me the opportunity to give you a vision for your next vehicle. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye-bye.